Feeling rested and rejuvenated coming off the bye week. Welcome inside the latest here on Bonfire MidWeek. Darren Bombing, Zach Schnitzer. Schnitz, what's going on, man? You feeling good after this bye week? I think it's hard not to when you get a bit of a week off, but then the Riders are in town, 30,000 plus at the Madhouse on Matheson on Friday night.
Yeah, I needed a little break, buddy. Like, we get tired too, right?
Yeah.
We talk Bombers all the time. Although I have to say the weekend felt a little bit dry, not having a game to look forward to. But I don't want to think about that because that's going to be the whole off season. Hopefully that's mitigated by a Grey Cup win. But good to see everybody. It's been a while. It feels like once a week isn't long enough, but or too long. But yeah, I got a fresh haircut from my friend Lefty Carroll.
Looking good, man. Looking good.
At Ultimate Hair Design. So shout out to her. Check her out there. She does a great haircut. And yeah, feeling good. I put the Hamilton loss away, ready to go. I'm just loving, Darren, that they got 30,000 plus again. Like for a late September game. I know it's the Riders, but that is unheard of. Like that's since the opening inaugural season, that's really quite something.
Yeah, like 30,000 plus would be a sellout at most stadiums in the CFL today. So great news for the Blue Bombers bottom line. Of course, they have not yet secured the West final at 12-2. There is still an opportunity for either BC or Calgary or even both to jump past the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Nobody expects that to happen, but still a mathematical possibility. We'll go through all of the playoff scenarios on the show tonight. And I will join you in welcoming everybody to the live chat and to the show. Great to see everybody. Do us a favor, go to the video below, give us a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't. And maybe more importantly than anything, tell your friends, either if they're podcast listeners, to download the podcast or subscribe there or check out the videos. Pre-game coverage, as we always do. Chris Walby will join me tomorrow. That's Thursday, the day before the game, as we always do. We're going to go at 2:00 live tomorrow.
2. Oh,
a little bit earlier than
programming
normal.
change.
Yeah, Walby's got some appointments. We got to make sure, he keeps it sharp going into this final stretch of the regular season. 4 games to go for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And more than the playoff picture, the quarterback picture in the CFL is changing. Jake Mayer gets a new contract extension, starter money with the Calgary Stampeders. We'll talk about Bo Levi Mitchell, where he might end up this season, next season, as well as, Taylor Cornelius getting a new deal, how that all mixes in. Vernon Adams Jr. with the BC Lions. Can he get the Lions going? Are they still a threat in the West? Right. Of course, we will get into a lot of Bombers, Riders, and the third game, the rubber match, if you will, between these two heated rivals. And we'll, I know you've got some thoughts, Zach, on something Mike O'Shea shared this past week about his bye week mentality. Very interesting point there we will get into as well. We're going to have our NFL picks. Good competition between you and me, Schnitz, and then our CFL rapid fire picks as well.
You're boat racing me, buddy. I have no business making NFL picks, but I endeavor to learn. I just keep betting on those Chiefs, and anyway.
Yeah, they're struggling a little bit, but if you haven't yet, go to SIA.com/bonfire, sign up. You get 100% bonus up to $500. Canadian Casino keeps the money in the economy here in Canada, and great place to bet on CFL, NFL, NHL, NBA, you name it. Props, futures. You can bet on anybody to win the Grey Cup right now. You can even bet on 2 teams and still make out with a win. If the team you think is going to win maybe doesn't, if you got a number 2 or a dark horse, money to be made there, no question. And we'll get into those picks a little bit later. Okay, let's quickly go around the Canadian Football League in CFL Week 16, Zach. It was just a 3-game slate with a couple teams on the bye. It started with Hamilton in Montreal, and the Ticats coming off a huge win over the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Well, they go to Montreal, and Trevor Harris and Geno Lewis seem to continue to play consistent football. These are the 2 teams that have beaten Winnipeg this season, and Montreal comes away with a 23-16 win.
And they've got William Stanback coming back soon, apparently.
Soon, not
Soon,
yet,
not quite yet.
not this
So
week.
you look at that team. I still think Trevor Harris is sort of up and down, and once he gets hit, he kind of crumbles, especially in prime time. But hey, listen, they've got a good defense, and if they can get their running game going with Stanback, especially, man, they've got some good receivers, and they beat Hamilton, who was really on fire coming off to win. But yeah, it might just be that was just Hamilton's moment in the sun, like we were talking about, Darren. We were interested to see what would happen, and turns out they couldn't, or Dane Evans couldn't quite sustain that excellence. Like we saw in some of the articles this week out of the Free Press and BlueBombers.com, people saying Evans just had the game of his life, and maybe that's it. That's what it was. We'll see. But
He goes
sucked
from
they
5
lost.
touchdowns. Sorry, he goes
Yeah.
from 5 touchdowns to 0 against
Yeah.
Montreal. It's crazy.
And it sucks because it was making the crossover thing kind of interesting, although that's still in play with the Riders. So we'll see what happens.
So the CFL Week 16 slate. Oh my gosh, I lost it. Where did it go? I'll get it back here. The Week 16 slate then moved to Ottawa, where the Toronto Argonauts roll in there and absolutely roll over the Ottawa Red Blacks 45-15. McLeod Bethel Thompson, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. I mean, is there to me, the East is all Toronto and Montreal. Hamilton, Ottawa, I don't think you can even mix in there right now. Hamilton stymied me. Viewers of the show know that throughout the season, but I think it's going to be interesting. I don't know if Montreal is going to be able to chase down Toronto. They are 2 games back.
Yeah,
but anybody can win in this division. I could see Montreal going into Toronto and winning,
sure.
punching their ticket to the Grey Cup. So, it'll be fascinating to see how that shakes out.
No, and Lynn Reimer's saying don't ugh that. What I mean is it was ugly for Ottawa, and it's just getting uglier. And you can't really blame the talent. I mean, this is really, I think, the end of La Police in Ottawa.
Yep.
I just don't think it's acceptable. I don't think, he took a timeout in the end of the first half and then takes a knee. It just questionable decisions. Can't seem to be able to do both jobs, Darren.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on there. I've loved what he's brought to Winnipeg, but he's just not getting it done as a head coach. I feel for him and his family. I mean, Tina's local, a great person, I hear, great family, but it just isn't working out for him. And I think they're just probably waiting for that phone call. As soon as the season's over, he's done.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as you lose your starting quarterback so early in the season, and being in a rebuilding or retooling phase, a build-up phase, I think the writing was on the wall for the Ottawa Red Blacks early. It's just unfortunate that those opportunities that Ottawa has had, they haven't been able to capitalize. So, are we going to see a new head coach in Ottawa next season? We'll wait and see, but that possibility most definitely there. The third game of CFL Week 16, Calgary gets revenge in Vancouver. Vernon Adams gets his first start 2 weeks ago in Calgary and gets the win. And then Jake Mayer goes back to Vancouver and, kind of teaches Vernon Adams what's up. He goes 27-33 for 294 yards. He's a CFL top performer this week, gets the new contract as well. And Calgary not counting themselves out of that West Division race, half a game back of the BC Lions at 9-5, BC at 9-4. This race is far from over. Even Winnipeg, the Blue Bombers need to ensure they're on their P's and Q's and on their toes, and they're able to take care of business, not just this week against Saskatchewan, but against Edmonton and those 2 games against BC. Of course, those final 2 games, Zach, will be indicative of where Winnipeg finishes, unless BC really struggles over the next 3 weeks here before they they face Winnipeg twice.
Well, it's going to be fascinating to watch, and I think Bomber fans just love that these two clubs are just beating each other up, right? Beat the snot out of each other, and then limp into the West Final, and that's why Kyle Walters said a few years ago, that's what you need in the West Division. You need to get that first round bye, and then you're just one win away. You're at home with our rabid fans, and that's what you want. And I'm much more of personally, Darren, much more afraid of Calgary than BC. I think you
Agreed.
saw you saw what the problem with Vernon Adams is. He can go on the road and win you one and play amazing, and then he can lose you one at home in kind of a stinker on a late game. And Calgary's got a good defense. They've got a great running game. I fully expect them to be in Winnipeg on November 13th.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I'm huge fan of Jake Maier. I think he is going to be one of the next great quarterbacks in the CFL. That contract maybe surprised some people. They're like, well, this is kind of an unproven commodity. And look, if John Huffnagel is comfortable giving Jake Maier not just the reins, but the contract to match, and Dave Dickinson is in that room, and all of the quarterback evaluation talent the Calgary Stampeders have, I'm trusting them. They have shown it over and over and over again to identify talent, to bring them in, to develop them, and then in the case of a lot of players, move on from them, like a Nick Arbuckle. So the Stampeders know what they're doing. Jake Maier, let's not pretend this guy didn't come in his first CFL start and throw 15 straight completions against the Blue Bombers. Let's not pretend he did that the next week and the next week. He has shown like he's got a lot. The ceiling is high and the floor is also high for Jake Maier. I think no brainer that the Calgary Stampeders decided to sign him to a contract extension. And that brings us into the conversation, Zach, before we look ahead to week 17 on the whole. And that's the quarterback picture across the Canadian Football League. It is nowhere near what it was when we started the season. Bo Levi demoted, Jake Maier promoted, Vernon Adams Jr., now the starter for the BC Lions, presumably for the rest of the season. Taylor Cornelius gets a contract extension with Edmonton. Cody Fajardo, questions about whether he will be back or the vote of confidence in him to be the starter moving forward. Dane Evans has shown good and bad in Hamilton. Jeremiah Masoli injured early. I think it will be his job to lose next season when he's back and healthy again. The Montreal Alouettes, didn't start the season thinking Trevor Harris was going to be their guy moving forward. Everything's changing. Where do you see Bo Levi landing?
I think he lands in Saskatchewan. If he doesn't go right to the panel. I think he'd love that. I think he would absolutely love it. I think the Rider fans would love it. I think if they don't make the playoffs or if they're just one and done in the playoffs, Darren, I think Fajardo's gone. I just think he has not ingratiated himself to the fans. I think they're sick of him in this latest whining episode with him. It just, the fans aren't going to, these fan bases booed Ron Lancaster. They've booed Grey Cup winner Darian Durant. Everybody gets booed in Riderville. I don't think he wants to leave Saskatchewan. I think he loves it there, but I just think when it's this resilience thing, like when things don't go well for him, he kind of crumbles mentally. And I'm not passing judgment on that because I'm a big mental health advocate. But if you're an elite athlete, like you've talked about this, Darren, you have to be elite up here too. And he just isn't there yet. And he's letting it get to him. And I'm not saying I would be a great elite athlete mentally. I think I would crumble, but I'm not trying to be an elite athlete.
Easier said than done, right?
I'm just trying to be a good enough dad. Thanks everybody. Talking about my nice beard. Apparently David Aspen likes our beards tonight. Getting a lot of stuff on our appearance. We are cold. Like
I think
I'm cold in my basement.
A lot of people shaving it off. That's what I think.
Oh yeah, they didn't like that. No, I had to grow it back for everybody. This jacket, by the way, is from the Bomber store a couple of years ago. My mother-in-law got me a a bathing suit from there, which was like $75, and I didn't need a bathing suit, so I just exchanged it and added a few bucks and got this sweet fall jacket, spring jacket. They probably still have them there, but
You know what I
yes,
did? I went to Walmart this week and I
yeah,
bought 3 swim trunks, $5
yeah.
each.
Well, you get
That's how I
deals there.
that's how I roll. That's how
Union
I roll.
busting Walmart. Here's Darren shopping. I'm much more ethical. I shop at Superstore. I like Joe Fresh.
Well, no, I like Hey, if I can get some funky swim trunks for $5 a pop, like
Nah, you
I'm
do it.
put it up. That's a fall deal. You buy your barbecue in the fall, you buy your swim gear in the fall, and you buy your winter stuff in the spring. Go get a shovel for $11.99. That's the way I roll.
Sorry, Darren. First of all, this is the first time someone's mentioned my Star Wars figurines. This is our 18th show. Come on, guys! Like,
You've
thank
had them
you.
there the whole time?
Finally,
No,
they've been there for a long time.
they have been
I
for a couple.
appreciate.
Yeah, yeah.
So someone's saying, it's bad that people are trolling Fajardo on his personal social media. I don't think it's a personal social media when you're an elite athlete and you're the quarterback for the Riders. I mean, you're a public figure and you have to manage it accordingly. It's like Vernon Adams. They get so charged up and reactive. Then don't have social media. You're a public figure. You're going to get trolled. I've been trolled, and I'm not even that public a figure. I'm sure you've been trolled here and there, Darren, and you ignore it. Like, you have to ignore it. You just have to ignore it.
Social
Uh,
media comes with so many pitfalls,
yeah,
right? Like that's just the way it is. If you want to play in a hockey market like Winnipeg, or a football market like Saskatchewan, or a hockey market like Montreal or Toronto, it comes with the territory. That
absolutely.
mental resolve, that mental what's the word? Like
Resilience.
strength,
Yeah.
right? Resilience, yes. To have that, I think, is important. If I was a pro athlete, or if I was advising a pro athlete, I would say, don't even wade into those waters. If you want to tweet, but don't read Twitter. Like, don't read it. Like, tell your significant other, or your cousin, or your whoever, you send out a tweet for me, say this. I wouldn't be reading a single thing about that, because you don't want that stuff creeping in. I imagine some people are so mentally strong that that it doesn't even creep into their mind. But either way, it's irrelevant to what's happening on the field. Cody Fajardo will get a little bit of help this coming week with
Dan
God, why
Clark.
is the name escaping me now?
Well, Dan Clark's coming back,
Dan
but
Clark,
but
thank
you
you.
still got Evan Johnson. You still got, oh, my light just went off. You still got sort of a porous O line. Anyway, we'll get to the Riders, but he's got to step it up and just take ownership, and the fans aren't going to boo you if you play better. And that's just is the way it is. Now, the quarterback landscape is fascinating. I mean, it's so CFL, right? Where you have Vernon Adams and Trevor Harris fighting it out for that number one spot. Adams gets it, and then a few months later he's in BC. I mean, it's just so CFL. You see that every year. You could always predict some wild trade where, well, you saw that with Kalaris in 2019, right?
Right.
So it is really a changing of the guard, and it doesn't seem that long ago, Darren, that Bo Levi Mitchell, was responsible for unceremoniously dumping Henry Burris, right? And he revitalized his career. But so maybe Mitchell can, although I'm on record being very strong that it's not going to happen. But he maybe he does, and for sure I see him going to Riderville. I just think there's going to be a house cleaning there. They have a 0.02 chance of winning the Grey Cup. I just think I've talked to folks there, big fans. They just feel like the season's over. So that's a fascinating one. It's like the only teams that don't have a quarterback huge change or controversy are Winnipeg and Toronto, and I think those are the teams that are going to end up in the Grey Cup.
Yeah,
And they played each other tight, right? Like, that was a tight game that should have gone to overtime. They had all the momentum. Like, we've never beaten Toronto in the Grey Cup, as our Argos Fancast podcast folks like to tease me. Never happened.
So when it comes to Bo Levi Mitchell and where he might land, first of all, the Calgary Stampeders are not going to trade him this year. I'm
No.
fully comfortable saying that with absolute certainty, because why would you trade your contingency plan in a division where you're going to need, well, it doesn't matter what division you're in, you're going to need a quarterback. If something happens to Jake Mayer, you want to make sure you got Bo there, or, if you want to change a pace or whatever. The last thing you're going to do is trade Bo Levi when you can use him potentially.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
going to be Jake Mayer's team moving forward and through this season, but they're not going to get anything that's going to help them win this year. So trade him at the end of the year or let him hit free agency, and whoever's got the nicest package for Bo Levi is where he'll go. A lot of people, like we've been talking about, Saskatchewan is an opportunity. If
Maybe Hamilton.
If Nathan Rourke isn't back,
Yeah.
maybe BC. And when I say not back, then in that, he signs an NFL contract, that's a possibility to me.
Sure.
Edmonton, I don't see that being a possibility. They did sign Taylor Cornelius to a contract extension, but I think Edmonton wants to find a young quarterback to develop along with the team, along with Trey Ford, along with Taylor Cornelius. I just don't think that's an immediate need for them. I don't see Winnipeg going for them. Ottawa, no, they've got Jeremiah Masoli. He's their guy. He is, in my opinion, a top 3 quarterback, top 4 quarterback in the CFL today. Toronto, I could see Bo Levi Mitchell signing with Toronto.
Yep.
But I don't see that as a huge likelihood or a significant likelihood. What I do see as a significant likelihood is Bo Levi Mitchell signing with the Montreal Alouettes. I could see them doing that to make a splash and to maybe solidify that position a little bit, because you get good Trevor Harris, bad Trevor Harris. You got similar up and down play from Vernon Adams Jr. there. They haven't had stability at quarterback in a long time. And I think Montreal is a team that is built to win sooner rather than later. They're a competing team right now. Anybody that says Bo Levi Mitchell is washed up, come on. How do you say that about a guy that has so much experience in this league? Things kind of petered out in Calgary with him. And no, he hasn't been the same explosive quarterback he has been in years past, but he is a proven winner. He is a future Hall of Famer and, is capable, I think, of giving leadership and sparking a young team or a competitive team like the Montreal Alouettes to get to the next level. I think that is absolutely a possibility. And I would put likelihood of Montreal right there with Saskatchewan. I would say Montreal's even more likely in my mind than him going to Saskatchewan. We'll see.
Well, and as I think about it, it's like, am I going to go to Saskatchewan with that O-line? And I'm older in my career and I've had some injuries. I don't think so, but maybe they solidify the O-line. Maybe they throw more money. To be honest, Darren, I'll ask you about Hamilton in a second, but for me, it's like he's right in the head. He's a winner. I agree with all of that, and he has talent. But to me, it just seems, and I have no inside information. It just seems like the injuries, like that surgery, he just has not been the same. He just hasn't been the same Bo Levi Mitchell. And I just don't see it anymore with him. I think it's a pretty much an indictment of him that he's being traded at all, that he's lost his starting job. I think that says everything you need to know. And I'm not saying, washed up is a strong sort of comment on someone, but I just don't think he's the same, and I can't see Calgary moving on from him unless they're pretty sure, he's done. Mind you, they did that with Burris, and he won a Grey Cup in Ottawa and went to another Grey Cup and went to one with Hamilton. So what do I know? But I just think
does the team have to think a guy is done to move on from a quarterback? You can't pay everybody $400,000.
No, for sure. I don't know. He hasn't been the same guy. He hasn't had the same pedigree and level of production. But what about Hamilton? Could you see him in Hamilton if Dane Evans can't put it together? Or do you think
I think they've made an investment in Dane Evans. I think he has shown that he can be the guy. I don't see them cutting bait on him after one up and down season or
Yeah.
mostly down season. I don't.
Okay.
But possible.
Well, and Schiltz has looked pretty good in backup duty too, that I've seen.
Right. But is he
Yeah.
somebody that a team is confident in being their starter? I don't
No,
think
I think you're right. I think they give Dane a shot, but maybe a shorter leash, and then they have
so.
Schiltz in there. But do you maybe give Bo Levi Mitchell a chance? I wouldn't see. Here's what I see happening. I see him either going to the booth, or I see him going to another team, and just in training camp, it just doesn't work. Like he retires or something early in next year's training camp. I just see that happening. I don't have any strong argument for it. I just think he's injured. I think it's just over for him. And prove me wrong. I hope I'm wrong, because you need elite quarterbacks in the CFL. It's a bums and seats league, and as much as Winnipeg fans don't like Bo Levi Mitchell, I think he's a very talented quarterback, and if he can get his game back like Burris did, that's great for the CFL.
No question. No question. To Corey May's comment here, could be full carousel of quarterbacks in the CFL this offseason. Fajardo to Toronto or Montreal. I don't see why Toronto would go from the league's leading passer last season
Yeah.
in McLeod Bethel Thompson to somebody that has been more inconsistent in Cody Fajardo. Maybe as Cody Fajardo as a backup.
I don't think anybody will want him. I don't think you want that guy in your locker room. Like, I think he's a great community guy. Maybe run for politics, but having a whiner like that in your locker room, boy, if I was a player, I don't know, but I just wouldn't want him in my locker room. But
You wouldn't want who?
Fajardo,
Why?
because he's a whiner. And he last year you saw him blow up at the receivers. He can't. He's not mentally strong enough. Like, unless he turns that around, I don't think he has. He's not. He's a medium quarterback. I mean,
That's
he
why I
has
think he would
really
be a
good
great
games.
number two. If he
Maybe
settles into the role of being the number two,
if he,
you're
yeah,
a
if he,
support guy. You
yeah,
are, you're here to build everybody up. Sometimes pressure is too much on guys.
yeah,
There's guys in the NFL and the CFL that are always going to be number two quarterbacks for a variety of reasons. But the mental part of it, I think, Cody could be a great number two. I think he's got the
yeah,
talent to be a number two.
yeah, for sure. He's a good
Like, I
short
mean,
yardage guy. He can run,
yeah,
but uh,
yeah, the tools, not the talent, the tools
he has the
uh,
tools.
to be a number two. So looking
Number two.
ahead to CFL Week 17, Riders
Yes,
Bombers is the first on Friday night, a late game in BC with the Ottawa Red Blacks there. So keep an eye on BC. They've got a favorable schedule outside of their games against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in the coming weeks. Montreal in Edmonton, Toronto in Calgary, and you can see the lines on those games as far as point spread and over under on the ticker below. And while you're looking below, give a thumbs up in the video description below as
absolutely.
well.
Those are some good games, man. Like, with the exception maybe of Ottawa
Tough,
and BC, those are
tough
tough
one.
games to pick, and I think they'll be exciting games.
No, I absolutely
Yeah,
agree. Um,
great
they're tough
entertainment.
ones to pick,
Yeah,
especially the Bombers favored by 8. I'm more likely to play the over under on that game. So you
or
can go to
money line. Yeah,
SIA.com/bonfire and do that. But it's like they figured it out. The lines this week in the CFL are really,
gone are the
really
days
good.
of degenerate gamblers like me. No, I'm not a degenerate gambler. I literally put like $20 down a week. Well, mind you, I put 50 on Toronto to win. I just knew they would take out Ottawa. I should have been like you and put some money on Calgary, because I just knew that BC wouldn't take 3 from them with Vernon Adams there. I
Well,
didn't, but
Calgary was pissed off after losing at
oh
home.
yeah. Anyway, yeah, no, it should be an exciting slate of games. I'll probably end up putting money, doing the money line on Winnipeg. I don't know about the 8
It was
points.
closed as of today.
Was it?
Yeah.
Ah,
I'm going to take a look and see if
I
it's still
pay too
closed.
much attention to my
It
family.
is.
Like, I put them first, and then I miss these important things.
Moneyline's closed on all of the CFL games right now, so they're
What?
probably waiting for those depth charts to come out, see who's healthy and the rest. But yeah, it'll be interesting in that sense. I do want to talk about the playoff picture, Zach,
Yes.
and where the Bombers are. So clarity for people out there that are looking at the Bombers at 12-2 with 4 games on their schedule remaining, and that a win will give them the West Final. That is not the case. A win will secure a home playoff date. That is either the West Final or the West semifinal. It means they can't finish any lower than second. So
Right.
clarity there. It does not mean the West Final.
No.
But I'm just trying to pull up the Grey Cup or sorry, the playoff odds here.
Mhm.
How do you see the East shaking out, Zach?
I agree with you. I
Toronto and Montreal, but
yeah, I see Toronto winning the division. I think they're just a very solid team. Special teams, defense, offense. I think. Do I trust McLeod Bethel Thompson to bring it under the bright lights of a playoff game and a one and done? I'm not sure yet. He hasn't shown that yet, but he's only
right.
had one playoff game, right? So I'm curious to see. They certainly give, like I said, the Bombers a run for their money. That was a really tight game, and they lost Andrew Harris. I don't see that working out for them, but they can run the ball, and he puts up big yardage. So I see that them as a little more consistent than Montreal at this point. In Hamilton, you just don't know, right? Like it's just looking like they can't sustain what they do. So you could see a crossover into Montreal, which would be interesting. A pretty good game. They split the season series, but I just see Toronto. Toronto beat Saskatchewan pretty easily twice. I just see that. I see them wiping the floor with the Riders if they make it to the East final, and I see Toronto winning it.
Yeah, I think it'll be tough for a team to like. I mean, I wouldn't put any money on Toronto to just roll because I think Montreal is absolutely capable of beating them. I think it would be good for whoever comes out of the West if Montreal ends up in the Grey Cup. I think Toronto is a much more dangerous team, but I do digress in shots. Maybe I think I was almost going to swear there. No,
You
okay,
almost were. You were so mad at yourself for saying the word digress. Your
I
second most
was.
unfavorite word. My daughter is using literally like every second sentence now. She just learned the word, and I'm like, I think of you every time she says it because it's just like, I am literally not going to eat that. I'm like,
I'm literally starving. No, you're not. You're not literally starving.
but it's in the vernacular now, Darren. You gotta let that go. It's become just a point of emphasis. Okay.
That is
But
true.
anyway, so you're saying Toronto as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's Toronto as well. I'm just trying to pull up the.
The
I
odds.
found it. I wanted to put it on the screen, but it's proving too difficult. So, a Winnipeg win or a Calgary loss this week, Winnipeg will clinch a home playoff date, not the West Final, just a home playoff date. Could be the semifinal as well. A Saskatchewan loss in Winnipeg and a Calgary win means Saskatchewan is out of the West Division playoff race. They can only qualify via the crossover. And for clarity there, the crossover rule is if the fourth place team, in this case, the West Division, has more points than the third place team in the East in this situation, they will cross over and take third place. So they will play on the road in the East semifinal. They cannot be tied. So they need a better record than the team that finishes third. That's very likely the way it will shake out. I can't see Saskatchewan winning out. One more loss, they can only qualify via the crossover. But if Hamilton can get some wins, it's going to be tough for the Saskatchewan Roughriders to cross over and make the playoffs. Still so much to be determined.
Yeah.
In
And
the West,
Saskatchewan, sorry,
in
Darren,
the
but
CFL.
Saskatchewan has a tough schedule coming up. Like they play us at home, 30,000 fans. There's not going to be a lot of Rider fans there, I don't think.
I'm
Then
told there isn't. I'm
yeah.
literally literally not going to eat that. I was told specifically that the 30,000 plus, there's not a lot of people coming from Saskatchewan. Is that gas prices, inflation, the riders, the riders loyal, thinking, okay, I don't want to, spend a bunch of money coming to Winnipeg, hotel accommodation, gas, the tickets, the rest, and them getting, 50 burgered like they were the last time. But yeah,
so they play
not
us.
Going to be a lot of green in the stands.
Then they have to go to Hamilton, and who knows what Hamilton brings. They can either beat the champs or lose, to a sort of average Montreal team. They have to play Calgary again, right? Like, they have a tough schedule.
Yeah,
So,
and Calgary is going to be pushing. Calgary is going to be pushing. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if Calgary didn't lose again in the regular season. However, a Edmonton loss this week and a Saskatchewan win, which means the crossover, Saskatchewan would still be in the West Division race for third place. Edmonton would be eliminated from the playoffs.
Wow.
Is that a foregone conclusion? Probably, but that's specifically what would need to happen.
Hey, I'm just glad it's not us, buddy. There were many years where Winnipeg was at the bottom of the West Division at 4-10, fighting for a playoff spot, and all it took was one loss. You'd get your hopes up just a little bit, and then they get smoked. I do want to say a couple things. One is congratulations to the Jefferson family for welcoming their second daughter, Riley Rose. They're just a great family and really part of the fabric of this community. So I think that's worth mentioning. And second, I'll give the Riders some credit for suspending Jake Dolegala, their backup quarterback, or they cut him. Is that the scissors?
Oh, no.
He's cracking a back. Just for getting out in front of it and doing something good for once in terms of PR and just from a team perspective.
They did exactly what the Blue Bombers did
as they should, though.
Kenny Lawler.
As they should. The Riders have done so many dumb things that I will give them credit just for copycatting it. That's fine. But good for them just to suspend him. And I just caution people. I work in mental health. A lot of people have addictions. I get that, driving under the influence is an awful thing to do, and it puts you and others at risk. And I know people who have been killed. I'm not making light of that whatsoever. At the same time, it's often more complex than someone's just being an idiot and not thinking about other people.
I just don't think it's smart for us to even speculate.
Yeah, you just don't know, right? You don't know. People, it is a mental disorder, alcohol addiction, substance abuse disorder. It often co-occurring with depression, anxiety, other untreated issues, and I just think it's not fair to just say cut him or to speculate on what's really going on. And you look at Kenny Lawler. Has it happened again? Well, nobody's seen it again, right? Anyway, I just wanted to comment on that, and then I'll get off my soapbox.
Quick note, yeah, and similarly a quick note. Daryl, who was messaging me today, a Bombers fan since 1976 in North Battleford, Saskatchewan.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show, and thanks for joining us live. Sometimes, late out. He's like, I can't always join live, but I always catch the podcast in the car. Awesome. So appreciate that a lot, Daryl, and everybody watching and downloading. Is Keon Adams any good? Keon Adams cut by the Saskatchewan Roughriders recently and signed by the Blue Bombers day before yesterday. Is he any good? Well, I mean, 7th round pick in the NFL by the Pittsburgh Steelers a few years ago, and in limited time in the Canadian Football League, he's actually put up pretty good numbers. Yep. I see this as a depth move. Injuries happen. You need to rush the quarterback. You need to put pressure on teams, especially in the playoffs when the passing might minimize itself a little bit as far as instances. Teams run more in the cold, that sort of thing. But you need good defensive line play in the playoffs, and it gets a little heavier, right? Like it gets a little bit more physical. So that can happen as far as the wear and tear on those guys up front. So I think a very smart signing of Keon Adams. And just want to mention one more time, again, as well, really, as we always do, Joe Daly, sports cards,
baby.
Framing, Great people, cracking a pack here on the new Upper Deck.
Ooh.
Our old
Traitor
buddy,
Marcus Sales. Traitor.
come on.
He went for the money. I don't blame him at all. Good for him and his
He went
family.
for the security. He signed a
Well,
3-year contract.
3-year deal. I mean, you can't
Yeah.
say no to that.
Bombers had to sign Brandon Alexander and Winston Rose.
Of course.
You know, they couldn't continue to pump
I'm
it
in
out.
jest, but I'm a
And
big
what
Marcus
happens? They
Sales
find
fan.
DeAndre Alford and Dietrich Nichols.
Yeah, and there was a piece on D. Alford apparently from the Atlanta Falcons on Twitter. I haven't looked at it yet, but it included.
It's cool.
Yeah, it's apparently was really good. So, yeah, should we get into the Rider game upcoming?
Absolutely.
So, I mean, the first thing I wanted to say was, I think the most important part is this is the Truth and Reconciliation game, Darren. And I think one of the great things about the Bombers is, hey, Leggio there's the kicker. There's the kicker. I think one of the great things the Bombers do is that they really put their money where their mouth is. And there were 94 calls to action from the Truth and Reconciliation Commission back in 2015, and 5 of them involved Indigenous people in sport. And it talked about recognizing Indigenous athletes and supporting elite athletes and supporting initiatives to get Indigenous kids into sport and things like WASAC. And so I think the Bombers do a great job. They actually have a director of Indigenous Relations who is Egan Sinclair. And we just put up my interview with him from last February on my podcast, the now defunct Let's Go Bombers podcast, although it may make an appearance at some point in the off season. But it was a great interview. No, I didn't even know they had a director of Indigenous Relations, but I think Negan does a lot of great stuff, and they're going to be auctioning off the orange jerseys with proceeds going to Winnipeg Aboriginal Sport and Achievement Center.
Yeah, WASAC, great organization.
Yeah, they're going to fly in 1,000 young Indigenous fans from up north, and yeah,
there it is.
There's
like
a guy. One. There's a guy I miss.
There's a dude right there.
So, and I urge you to. I'm not trying to self promote. I don't make any money off my podcast, but I think you should. It's worth a listen to Negan to talk about his experience. He was actually a college fullback. Was recruited by Alabama, so he's an athlete. He loves football. His dad loves football, and the Bombers actually last year at the Truth and Reconciliation game had signs instead of "Let's Go Bombers" in English. They were in Cree and other Manitoba Indigenous languages, and his father, Murray Sinclair, who's Justice Murray Sinclair, a very well known, well respected guy, was in tears. He said, I've never seen that. I never thought I'd see that. And so, yeah, it's cool what the Bombers are doing. So they're doing all sorts of things. There's going to be I think every gate is going to have donations you can give. Sorry, I just lost it here. Every gate you can give it. You look on the website. There's donations you can give. There's going to be the anthem is going to be sung in Ojibwe by Strong Warrior Girls and Anishinaabe singers, powwow singers, dancers, and drummers, featuring Ray Coco Stevenson and Walking Wolf singers. So,
and they're going to do the orange warm up jerseys, both the Bombers and the Riders,
yep.
And then auction those off as well in support of WASAC. So,
I'm trying to find it there. There's donations you can give at every gate, but I forget what they're collecting. Anyway, take a look at the Bombers website, or they may have tweeted it out. I lost it here. So anyway, just lots of great stuff. I wanted to recognize that, and it's it's important that we recognize it. And one thing you can do even is just read about Jack Jacobs in the CFL or Canadian Football Hall of Fame. Indigenous athlete who was one of the most famous Bombers ever, actually played under Vince Lombardi. And Vince Lombardi cut him, not because he wasn't a great quarterback in Green Bay, but because he wanted to call his own plays and was very successful at it. So anyway, yeah, there's some cool stuff about Jack Jacobs. Anyway, I wanted to say that. The other thing I want to say, Darren, and I'll be quick here, is just reading the Free Press, because I'm a big Free Press fan, and got some great stuff by Joshua Frey-Sam and Jeff Hamilton and others, Mike McIntyre, Taylor Allen, of course, and just some stuff on the coaches show. Mike Sawatsky, absolutely. I think I just think the Bombers do so. I always talk about this, just the culture of the team. And Mike O'Shea talked about one of the best ways to unwind is not just to not think about football, but is to think about something else, to throw yourself into something else. And that's very psychologically sound. Like if you have an avoidance goal, like I'm not going to drink, it's not as good as saying like I'm going to take care of my health, or I'm going to exercise, or I'm going to go to AFM. Like approach goals work, and he threw himself into fishing. He was catfishing, not that kind of catfishing, but O'Shea was fishing this the
Fishing for catfish.
fishing for catfish. You saw Brady Oliveira go to UND, and Rashid Bailey go with him and do some motivational speaking, and Oliveira was doing some dog rescue stuff. And it's just important that these guys take a break from football. You saw Big E spending time with his family, and I think they just do everything right. And O'Shea also talked about one thing that I'd never thought about, is that he gives out the team schedule months in advance, because he knows it's healthy psychologically for the guys, because they have families back home, they have kids they're missing. Like these guys give up a lot to be here, and it's those little details, I think, that can sometimes be the difference between a win and a loss, because a guy's not thinking about, is coach going to make us practice if we lose this game? Is he going to add a practice? Osh said it doesn't matter how his team plays, they never add a practice, they only cancel them. And it's just that thoughtfulness of the players as a whole person, that's the players coach, and that's how you have to coach guys now, and
Yeah,
it works.
it's part of a greater organizational direction, right?
Hmm.
It's as much as it is about ensuring the players have what they need to be at their best, as much as they can. It's also just about, this is how we're going to run a professional organization,
Yeah,
right? From the top down,
yeah,
they're all on the same page.
yeah,
Uh, if you think it's often overlooked, but IG Field is used for more than Blue Bombers football. There's concerts, there's Bison sports, women's soccer, men's football, the Manitoba Marathon. There's a whole
yeah.
Valor football, of
Valor,
course.
Bisons, yeah, for
There's a
sure.
variety of stuff that goes in and out of that stadium. And the Blue Bombers, while they are the head tenant, if you will, of this, publicly owned multi-purpose facility, they need to know whether they can practice or not,
Yep.
whether the field has got soccer lines on it or football lines on it, or the university needs it or whatever. So, people rent it out to get married and stuff like that. So it's about, I understand what you're saying. Like, great that it's got the player in mind, but I think it's also just comes down to good business practice and good corporate practice for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, because there's a lot going on. They need to know what's what. And
Yeah.
um, I was told going into this season that there was a year off, obviously, in 2020 because of the pandemic and no CFL season, but the 2019 championship run, the 2021 championship season, Winnipeg knows exactly what they need to do to be at their best. They've learned from their mistakes. They've learned from their successes. Everything is perfectly scheduled. They know what they wanted, like on an hour to hour, minute to minute basis. Another thing Mike O'Shea mentioned on his show, like you're referring to, Zach, it's not about Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. It's day 1, day 2, day 3, walk through, game day, and then recovery afterwards and film breakdown and all that. It's the day after the game, and then how many days do you have to kind of
Yeah.
turn around for your next game? Is it 5 days? Is it 7? Is it 8? And the like. So I think Winnipeg is just a well-oiled machine at this point, and it goes into areas people don't think about a lot.
Well, and I think, you look back at 2013, I mean, nobody wanted to come play here. I mean, we see that with the Jets too, but you saw that in the CFL with nobody wanted to come to, Kyle Walters had to overpay guys like Nick Moore to come here, right? And Calgary was sort of the banner organization back then, and kind of still is, but I think
And a lot of
Winnipeg's
a
taken
lot
the
of players
mantle.
just want to go to Toronto because of
Yeah,
the what that city has, Montreal, Vancouver.
I
But
remember
then
I
they get
remember
there and they're like, "How
yeah.
much is an apartment?"
Yeah,
Oh,
right. No, for sure. No, they wanna come here now, and you see even Keon Adams on Twitter sort of trashing the writers' culture. Back then, I still remember Abi Khan when he went to Calgary saying, like, just the night and day difference in how that organization was run and how the players are treated. And I'm proud that they're doing this. Just one thing I realize now, it's a school supply drive for the Southeast Resource Development
right.
Council. So bring some school supplies. to the game on Friday. And the other thing I just want to say quickly, Darren, is our leaders take accountability. And that is a big difference from maybe, Cody Fajardo sort of blaming others or blaming the fans and everybody's against us. Or guys like Duke Williams taking, unconscionable penalties and swinging helmets and spitting and eye gouging. It's like Brandon Alexander is not just there because of his talent. They put him right back at safety because of his leadership. And he admitted this week he wasn't on point. Like, he took it on himself. And that takes a lot. But guys will run through the wall for you because we all know that it wasn't just Alexander's fault that the secondary got lit up. But he took it on himself and said, like, you know what? I wasn't good enough. I missed my P's and Q's and my calls and wasn't seeing the pictures right. And I'm gonna improve that. And
it's
I have
easy to say that's what leaders do.
Yeah,
but
it's hard to do.
The way I saw that game against Hamilton, Zach, was Dane Evans was on his game. I didn't think Winnipeg blew it. They lost.
For sure.
But I don't think it was Winnipeg was terrible and Hamilton took advantage. No. I think Winnipeg maybe didn't play to the intensity level that they wanted to, but Hamilton just beat them. Dane Evans went 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. He was on his game, probably easily his best game of the season.
Absolutely.
So what does a leader do? It's easy to say, it's on me. But when you get beat, and maybe it wasn't exactly your fault or something what the Bombers did wrong, it was more what Hamilton did right.
Yep.
A leader says, that's on me.
Yeah.
Because I didn't do enough to help prepare my teammates or myself or whatever.
Sorry, but you never go wrong by taking the blame in sports.
In anything, really.
In anything. Have you ever seen someone get blowback for taking the blame? And especially if everybody knows it wasn't their fault. I mean, it just makes you look good. It's hard to do. It's hard to eat that. But anybody who takes the sword, O'Shea does it. He's done it numerous times. And it's never a bad thing to do. It's like that should be your playbook if you're someone in front of the media. It's just like I've got to be better. So
take the blame if you need to, right?
Yeah, don't take it every time. Yeah. Although I take the blame all the time as a husband here. So, and it works for me. It works for me. And I'll just leave you with this. Sun Tzu, I'm throwing a curveball here. He was a Chinese military general, 500 BCE.
Oh, The Art of War, isn't it?
The Art of War, exactly. He said every battle is won before it even starts. And I think, of course, there's execution on game day and all those things. But I just think if you're a well-run organization like the Bombers, like Calgary, maybe throw Toronto in there, you are doing everything right before that 5 a.m. film study, right? All that stuff. You love football. You play for each other. You love your coach. You do the right things. You make everything about the team. If you do all that and you prepare for your opponent, you take every opponent seriously, which the Bombers do, then you are already winning once you step on the field. You're not going to win every game, but you're giving me the best. You're giving them me. That was a Freudian slip. You're giving them the best chance to win, right? And I'm almost as proud of that as the Grey Cups, maybe even equally. Yeah, whether you win or lose, right? Like sports can be, there's so many things that can go wrong. There's so many variables, right? But I just think that's cool. So let's talk about this game, buddy. I think it's going to be closer than people think. I think a lot of people are predicting a blowout. What do you think? What do you see for this game? And maybe people on the chat, what do you guys think is going to happen this Friday?
So since 2017, I want to make sure I get this number right, but as I read it, since 2017, the Blue Bombers are 7-1 coming out of a bye.
Whew. That's good.
Saskatchewan is not playing particularly good football. I don't think Dan Clark is going to revolutionize their protection. Frankie Hickson is out. Winnipeg, I understand they're beat up, but the reality is not much is changing from last game to this one, and a bye week only helps heal some of those bumps and bruises and things that don't show up on the injury report or don't keep guys from being out of the lineup. Today's injury report showed Mike Miller as a non-participant. He hasn't practiced in a long time, but plays in every game. Stanley Bryant, also a non-participant for a second straight day, with Jeff Gray being the guy that is filling in at left tackle. That tells me that the Blue Bombers are not anticipating Stanley not being able to play. Just reading between the lines there of how football teams kind of operate nuts and bolts. Jackson Jeffcoat did not practice again today. He will be questionable for the game with a hip issue. That's the one I'm really not sure about. Noah Hallett, Nick Taylor, Teadric Hansen, Malik Clements, Drew Wolodarski, all of those guys have not practiced in a stretch and will very unlikely play on Friday. But I really wonder if Jackson Jeffcoat is going to be able to go. It could be one of those nagging things, right? Like, don't practice, get your body ready for the game, and then we're going to add Keon Adams to be there if you need to take some time. You know, if maybe it's next week against Edmonton, Keon Adams is able to pick things up quickly, rotate in. Like, without Teadric Hansen and with a banged up Jackson Jeffcoat, it can be tough. You know, like Willie Jefferson spent time away as well with his family as they welcomed a second daughter to their beautiful young family, and congratulations to them again, as we mentioned earlier. But Jeffcoat's the one I wonder about. But with no Frankie Hickson, it's going to be left to an American rookie, as well as Winnipegger and Canadian Keenan LaFrance to run the football. I don't see it as a huge threat, a run game. So I think Winnipeg is going to be able to bring a lot of pressure. I understand the linebacking core is not playing at its best. It's definitely not at its healthiest, but I think Winnipeg will handle business. Will they win by 8+? Will they win by 9 points and cover the spread? I'm not so sure about that. You know, as I mentioned, I think the over-under is a much better play on SIA.com/bonfire. And I would probably say over. That's just
yeah. I mean, I think the offense can put up points on these guys. The offense was, I mean, even against Hamilton, the offense was, I mean, they put up what, 30, 31 points. So, you know, they were right there. Can I go with a blue beard for the game? Corey May, I love it. I don't even know how to, but I'll figure it. I'll ask my daughter how to dye my beard blue, and I'll do it.
If you show up to the game day after dark with a blue beard, I'm going to be disappointed. I don't know if everyone out there will be disappointed at all, but I might be.
You don't want to look at a blue beard, but if we win, I'll be wearing the chain. I mean, I'll wear the chain anyway because there's lots of cool stuff.
Wear the chain to bed.
It's true. I actually have some bruising on me, but my lats are getting bigger.
Well, it's because your wife's elbowing the chain and it's sticking in your.
Yeah, that's right. Sticking my jugular.
Contusions.
I think it's going to be closer. I think if I was Jason Moss, and he's kind of a much maligned Jason Moss at times for not running the ball and other decisions he makes, I'll look like a Smurf. Yeah, sure. Well, I already look like a Smurf. I'm 5'6". So
would you take Saskatchewan to cover 8 points?
I don't think I would touch this game. I mean, it's the third meeting.
If you held a gun to my head,
yeah. If you held a gun to my head, I would take the Riders to cover. I think, I don't know. Part of me thinks they'll just blow them out within the first quarter, but I think the Riders are absolutely desperate. And you saw that with Hamilton. A desperate team is going to come out swinging. They're going to go for it on third down. And so they're either going to live and die or die by the sword, Darren, I think. I think that if I was Jason Moss watching what Hamilton did, I would be running that quick passing game against us all night. And I think that would set you up on the run, even though maybe your running backs are subpar. I think we got sliced and diced. Now, Evans was just bang on. He had the game of his life. But Fajardo, I think Marshall Ferguson put out a target chart a couple weeks ago. Fajardo's pretty accurate with like the 5, 10, 15, even 20 mid-range throws. With the short throws, he can get the ball out quick. if he can do that and neutralize the pass rush, which may itself be a little bit neutralized with personnel, I think he exposes those linebackers, particularly linebackers that don't usually play pass coverage, like Gauthier, maybe Rutledge, although Rutledge has been a tackle machine. I think that would be the path to victory. I think Brett Lawther had a rough game. I would see him bounce back. I'm just saying it's not out of the realm of possibility that Saskatchewan keeps it close or even wins. Don't forget they only lost by 2 in Labor Day, and I know it's Labor Day, it's a thing, but they only lost by 2, and you could argue that they beat themselves. Pumper's saying, "Great idea, Zach, but Moss isn't that smart." Hopefully, he's not listening to this podcast then, or this YouTube show.
This is the way I see it. Cody Fajardo is playing on a bit of a banged up knee. It has no doubt affected his deep passing accuracy.
Yeah.
But the Saskatchewan Roughriders receiving core is built for the vertical. Jason Moss's offense is built for the vertical. I don't see a good marriage between the type of football Cody Fajardo was able to play effectively and what the Saskatchewan Roughriders actually want to do. Keenan Schaefer-Baker can kind of do a little bit of everything. Somebody, Daryl mentioning that Jason Moss said on Saskatchewan radio, he's going to be used in a running situation. Always interesting when a coach floats that out publicly. Like, do you think Mike O'Shea goes, "Oh, perfect. Okay, let's prepare for that."
Right. Yeah.
Like, we'll see. But Shaq Evans, Duke Williams, Kieran Moore, those are all either big-bodied or speed guys that can stretch the field. So I just don't see it being a good marriage right now, and I think that's a reason why Saskatchewan's offense has been struggling this year. Of course, when you want to pass too, and your quarterback can't stay clean in the pocket, that always affects things as well.
And I guess I think if somehow, like with turnovers, or they just happen to play, they execute. I think if the Riders are close or leading early, I see them being tough. I think if they get behind, then it will be a blowout. They are not built to come back. The defensive ends, the D line, the linebackers will just pin their ear back and just go after Fajardo. And but I do think if the Riders can keep it close early, maybe they get what's his name, Mario Alford involved. Maybe he returns something. I think Lather will come back from his terrible performance against Edmonton, because he's usually pretty good. They have a good punter, good cover teams. I don't know.
This is the question I want to pose to everybody. Which Riders team will show up at IG Field on Friday night? Hit the comments. People are already commenting on this. People saying, this game will be a blowout, says Bob Man. Andrea says this will not be a cakewalk for the Bombers. Is this going to be a close game, or is this going to be a blowout or a strong multi-score win? I want your opinion right now, Zach.
It's hard for me to say, because it depends which Rider team shows up.
Gun to your head. Is this going to be a close game, or is this going to be a wide gap game?
I think it's going to be either.
One.
Oh, come on. Are you going to do the same thing then? I get to do the same thing to you. Okay, I'll
offer mine first then. I think the line of 8 points is perfectly placed, but I do think Winnipeg will win. I'm just not comfortable putting, some cash down on them covering 8 points. I think it could be a 7-point win. I think it could be a 10-point win, but I do think Winnipeg will win by a good margin. I don't think this is going to be a narrow margin game. I think they're going to go handle business.
I think there's a path for Saskatchewan to keep it close. I do. I could see it being, 3, 4, 5 points for a win by the Bombers, if you hold a gun to my head. Then again, it's the worst second down team in the league on defense, on offense. Winnipeg's the best second down team on offense. They're by far the most undisciplined team in the league, and it comes back to bite them every game. And with that crowd, I just think like they were very sick last game. That you can't forget that they were literally it was coming out of both sides right before game time. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's going to be close. That's just my thought. I wouldn't be surprised if it's quite close.
Waiters who often I call on with some strong comments here on Bonfire Midweek after the bye last time. That, of course, being in mid-August. Winnipeg was home to Calgary and won 31-29. Waiters predict something similar. I don't disagree. I just see Calgary as being a very good football team and Saskatchewan not. So, yeah, similar, but I think Winnipeg, based on opponent and based on it being kind of a crazy crowd and the rivalry that is Bombers Riders, I think Winnipeg is going to handle business. But great, everybody joining us in the chat. How about this? Bobman wants to put his Saskatchewan farm down on it. I kid, of course. It'll be interesting to see how that all shakes out. Do you want to do our CFL rapid fire
Let's
first?
do it.
Let's do our NFL picks first. So
all right.
Last week, if I can go back in the notes here, Zach.
Yeah.
NFL Week 3, you picked Kansas City to cover 5.5 points at Indianapolis.
Yeah, somebody's favorite team, the Colts, right? Who had been shut out by the Jaguars. It's now turning out the Jaguars are a pretty darn good team, and I've actually, I won't spoil it, but yeah, that's twice KC. I bet on them, and I've come up short.
Straight up won.
Yeah, Indy straight up.
So they did not. Kansas City did not cover 5.5. San Francisco, you picked to cover 1.5 at Denver.
Yeah, I thought Denver was an absolute, tire fire coming in. Yeah, but I think what happened was Russell Wilson just decided to just play the game he wanted to play at the end and just say, screw you guys, I'm going to be Russell Wilson, and he just won. But credit them. But yeah, I believe I am now 1-3 on the season, or 0-3. No, I'm 0-3 on the season for sure.
Are you sure? How is that? We do 2 every week.
No, but I did 1. We've only done 2 weeks, and I did 1 the first week. So I picked KC to cover, and I only picked in week 1, and I lost. Yeah, you're 4-1, buddy.
Well, we haven't even gotten there yet. Hang on.
Kansas City also tried a fake punt and tried to throw the ball on 4th and 10. Like, God damn it.
Well, they seem to be desperate, maybe a little bit in that game.
Well, their starting kicker wasn't playing too, and their other kicker was just like blowing chunks.
So you bet on that San Fran. This is killing me. I'm pulling up a website here, and it's just blasting audio. Hang on a second. There we go.
Wait, you want to look up? I have your picks. I know what you did.
No, I got it. All
right.
No, I was just pulling up the overall score. So that game you picked, San Francisco, Denver, that was probably the worst game to watch in the history of football.
11-10.
Any league. It was an absolute dog. It was the Monday Nighter doubleheader, right?
Yeah.
So you picked San Fran to cover 1.5, and they lost by 1. So you've gotten no favors in your picks.
Well, thank you.
So far this season.
It's not.
I had Cincinnati to cover 5 points at the New York Jets, and they did. The Jets continue to struggle. It was a 27-12 beatdown by the Bengals. I knew they were going to rebound well.
You had that.
I had Chicago to cover 2.5 at Houston.
Houston then throws it.
Home to Houston.
They throw it like you got. I don't want to say you lucked out, but that was close. Houston throws a pick,
in Chicago.
Puts Chicago in field goal range, and they go up. They win it by 3, buddy. So you cover it. Good for you.
Okay, so let's look to week 4 and our NFL picks. I'm just pulling things up here on SIA.com/bonfire to ensure we get the right numbers here as they stand right now. You and I talked about this the other day of our picks. Now I'm forgetting. Who do you got?
Who do I got? I have the Jaguars. The last time I checked on SIA, it may have changed. today, but they were 6.5-point dogs at the Eagles. And
Yeah.
from everything, I'm not going to say I'm an NFL nerd, but all the analytics people I was reading were saying the Jaguars are good for they're good for their wins. Like they're not just lucking out. They have what do they call it? Points above expected or whatever. Like they're a good football team, and so I don't think they're going to beat Philadelphia. I think Philadelphia is a real threat with Jalen Hurts. I mean, he's really surprised people, and you're in Philadelphia, which is just a madhouse, right? Like those fans
Yeah.
are absolutely rabid. Everybody knows the Eagles Fly song by the time they're 2 years old. So I don't know that they're going to beat them, but 6.5 is a lot in the NFL. What I realized watching some of the games this week, Darren, is that 40-second clock. It
It's
really
awful.
it changes the game, and the teams out of timeouts. Like you could beat it. It's hard to kick the crap out of a team in the NFL. Like it really, like you can be up by one and just
Kill it.
the other team can't kick a rouge and just kill the clock, and then that 2 minutes runs out real quickly. So I think the Jaguars could keep it close.
So you got Jaguars to cover 6.5 at undefeated Philadelphia. And
Yes,
your
me
next pick.
too. My next pick is Pittsburgh is -3.5 versus the Jets. I mean, neither team is sparkling, but the Pittsburgh defense is stellar, and Trubisky has more experience. I know he's no Brett Favre, but I think Pittsburgh can cover 3.5. The Jets are just. It's such a sad organization. Anybody on here who's a Jets fan, I just feel sad for you. I mean, it's even at the point. I mean, at least they had the Namath Super Bowl and really brought the NFL into the fore because the AFC finally won something. But man, like since then, sure they had the Ryan years where they sort of came close, but they also had the butt fumble. Like it's just
Right.
a sad sack organization with Joe Flacco. I just see Pittsburgh handling them. I'm not going to say they're going to crush them, but I certainly think they can cover 3.5.
I'm trying to find one of my two picks. Did you write down mine?
I thought I did, and then hey, wait, I think you texted them to me, buddy. Hold on.
Okay. Well, I do know
Yeah,
one.
I have him.
Okay, what was the first one?
Okay, so
Oh, yes, I remember.
okay.
I got the Chargers
Yes.
to cover 5 at Houston. And I've got the Rams. So I'm taking both LA teams on the road. I got the Rams to cover. They are
you got them against the
1.5
spread.
point dogs
Or are they
in
1.5
San
now?
Francisco.
Yeah.
So Chargers to cover their 5 points spread, 5-point favorite in Houston. And then I've got the Rams plus 1.5 at San Francisco. And I'm rolling 4-0. Is that right? 4-0?
4-1.
Oh, 4.
No, 3-1. Sorry, 3-1. Because you bet 2 each week, so you're 3-1.
Right. Okay, I'm 3-1. All right.
And I'm 0-3. So I've got to turn it around.
Wait a second.
Buddy.
How have I picked 4 games and you've picked 3?
Because the first week you picked 2 and I picked 1. I don't know how that happened. Oh, well, I know.
What are we doing? What
I
are we
don't
doing
know.
here?
What are we doing?
Zach, remember I said the first week does not count.
Oh,
we're
so
starting
the wash.
fresh.
Oh, I forgot about that. Okay, so I'm
You're
I'm
0-2.
You're 2-0.
No, that's not right.
Yeah, dude. Last week you went 2-0 and I went 0-2. If you watch the first week, we're both. I'm 0-2. You're 2-0.
See, everybody out there watching. This is what happens when you don't hammer everything down in the pre-show planning.
Whatever. We're busy. People will give us a break here. Okay, so you got the LA teams. All right.
Okay, so you've got Jacksonville
against
plus 6.5 at Philly. You've got Pittsburgh to cover 3 at the New York Jets. I have got the Chargers to cover 5. Why did I lose it here? This is awful. I feel bad for everybody.
You got the Rams against the spread versus San Fran.
Yes. Hang on. I just want to make sure I got the the Chargers line right.
It's just the computer is just going away on you, buddy.
It is brutal. Yes, Chargers to cover their 5-point favorite at Houston. And then I've got the Rams plus 1.5 at San Francisco.
Yeah.
So SIA.com/bonfire, sign up. It's super easy. And you can play around a little bit because they give you a 100% bonus up to $500 on your first deposit. Okay, we're going to do our CFL rapid fire. Rapid.
Yep,
Let's get through it. Saskatchewan at Winnipeg. The Bombers, 8-point favorites at home, 30,000 plus at the Madhouse on Matheson.
I'll take the Bombers
To cover 8.
Not to cover it.
We're doing point spread here. Come on.
Oh, no, I'm not going to take them to cover 8. No.
You got Saskatchewan plus 8.
Yep.
Okay. I'm going to take the Bombers to cover 8.
Oh, you are.
Ottawa in BC with the Lions favored by 7.
I would take the Lions. I think Ottawa's just broken at this point.
I'm with you there. I
going
got the
all the way across the country.
Yep. I got the Lions to cover 7. They're going to have a bad taste in their mouth following losing at home to Calgary. They'll beat up on the lowly Ottawa Redblacks. The Elks are at home and underdogs to the visiting Montreal Alouettes. Do you think the Alouettes can win by more than 3?
Whew, that's a tough game. I mean, yeah. Rapid. Yes. I don't think Montreal could win by 3. I think Edmonton at home. I think they're going to have to win at home sometime, buddy. Or they're going to keep it close.
I'm going to take the Alouettes to cover 3.5. And then Toronto in Calgary, the Stamps are 5.5-point favorites at home to the East Division leading Argos.
I would take the Argos against the spread there. I think that's a big line.
We're going to disagree again on the 2 Saturday games. I'm going to take Calgary to cover 5.5. I'm high on Calgary right now. I think they're going to be rolling.
Yeah, you've rolled Calgary into a nice doobie and you're smoking it, and I hope it's a dud.
Well, it's because my Hamilton doobie burned my nose.
People aren't going to let you forget that, buddy.
It's okay.
Power rankings.
I don't mind.
But you're a Brandon Alexander. You can just say, "Hey, I have to go back to the playbook. I got to look at the film."
So we did your sober second thoughts last week. If you guys missed Bonfire Midweek last week, go to youtube.com/bonfire sports, find it, give it a thumbs up, and give it a listen. It's also on all of your favorite podcast apps, Apple, Google, Spotify, and the rest. Of course, we've got pregame coverage with myself and Chris Walby tomorrow. That is Thursday, 2:00. We're going to get it going. We usually go at 3 the day before the game. We'll do it at 2 on Thursday this week. And then with the Bombers hosting the Saskatchewan Roughriders on Friday night, it's going to be an absolute battle. Mm-hmm. And energy at IG Field is going to be awesome. And when I say battle, I just mean people are going to be fired up for this game. I do think the Bombers will take care of business, but we will have game day after dark here on Bonfire Sports with myself and the handsome guy with the beard to my virtual right.
Yeah, hey, when you get a nice haircut, it does wonders for this ugly mug. I do just the last point is Courtney Bay has brought up something that you and I talked about a pregame, Darren, with the Meyer signing. Does this do any locker room damage to Mayer to Bo, or is Bo really a good teammate and this is no big deal? I was saying the timing of this was interesting. I thought it might do damage to that quarterback room. That if Mayer gets injured. Does Bo really want to play for a team that's demoting him and trading him? You said something interesting. You said it was all about marketing, that they want to say this guy was the player of the week. He's the new guy in town. He's the new mayor, and come
I want to go see him.
Yeah, that was interesting. I didn't think of that.
They got to sell tickets. This is the CFL. Calgary wants to fill that building on this home stretch here and possibly for that home playoff date in the West semifinal. It could even be the West final if they get a ton of help, but more unlikely than likely at this point. For Jake Mayer, if you're the new guy, you're the marketable piece. And in a city like Calgary that has seen Bo Levi Mitchell, excuse me, the whole love it, hate it with Bo Levi, Stampeders fans love him. He has won them Grey Cups. He has won MOPs. He has been one of the most successful quarterbacks with a win-loss record in CFL history.
Mm-hmm.
He's been the dude. And now the torch is being passed. I think Bo will be a good teammate, just like he was when Jake Mayer took over earlier this season. He will be supportive in the rest. I don't see it as being an issue in the locker room. But off the field, like outside of the football organization, fans are like, whoa, Bo's not the guy anymore. John Huffnagel has gone to somebody else. Dave Dickinson has gone to somebody else. Who is this guy? Oh, he was the top performer last week. Oh, they're coming off a big road win over the team they're jockeying with in the West Division. I want to see this guy.
Mm-hmm.
Call the ticket office. I think it absolutely had everything to do with announcing it at an opportune time. And smart on Calgary, the Stampeders marketing and PR department for handling it that way.
Yeah, and they must think that Bo can handle this with class, and from everything I've seen,
right?
Yeah, they get it, and he gets it, right? It happens to everybody, right? Everybody. Joe Montana got shipped out of town, so I mean, it happens. So it should be very interesting this week, my friend, and next week we promise to have be on our P's and Q's with our NFL picks.
I'm just checking here, because Waiters mentions that the Jets play next Wednesday.
Oh.
Like, we got to hire Waiters as like a producer or something. We'll keep you updated on the schedule. Just follow us on Twitter at Zach Schnitzer 48, at Darren Bombing. And then, of course, we'll keep things scheduled here on YouTube as well. Do want to mention the Winnipeg Rifles lost a squeaker to the still undefeated Regina Thunder at IG Field this past weekend. Still top 10. The rankings come out on Thursday. But Rifles in Edmonton to take on the Huskies in a true battle for second place in the Prairie Football Conference. Hashtag Rifle Up. Scott, son, Jake, amongst a very talented receiving core. Quarterback Bryson McNeil of the Winnipeg Rifles leading the country in passing right now. First to hit 2,000 yards on the season. He is really something to watch. Their next home game is October 25th. Pardon me, October 16th. Information on that is in the link in the description below in the video. But follow them on social media at Rifles Football and at riflesfootball.com. Let's leave it there, Zach.
Okay, buddy.
Appreciate everybody joining us tonight.
Nice to see you all. And yes, like I said, we'll be more on our P's and Q's, Darren, with our NFL picks. I mean, we did talk about them before the show, but, I just hope people come back. Come back and watch us, okay? We'll make it up to you.
Dude.
I'm just kidding.
They know where they get the goods.
Yeah,
we're not afraid to say it as it is. And
that's right.
This final stretch of the season, things could get tight for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Nothing is decided at this point. They could easily be on the outside looking in when it comes to the West Final. So they need to go handle business. And it starts with the Riders in town on Friday night. Going to be an awesome atmosphere. Get your tickets if you haven't yet, because these are special moments with the team, the way they're playing, and how good they are at home. Drink it in, Winnipeg. Enjoy it while you can.
And I am going to be super excited to bring my good friend Caitlin, who's been I've talked about her before on the show. She's just been an awesome support. She's going to be wearing her new jersey, Section 128. Can't wait to go with her. She's just been someone that's really supported this show and listened the whole time, even my podcast. And I'm really happy to bring her. So it'll be great. Thank you, Firestarters. Great chat. Sandy, sending love, everybody. Townsend, Waiters. Kurt Roche chimes in right at the end. Wait, Kurt, Scott, Roger, Leslie, Lynn, everybody.
Everybody's
Gregory
awesome.
too, even though you're a Cowboys fan. Love you, buddy. We'll see you all on Friday.
Appreciate you all. We'll see you on the pregame Thursday, and Zach, I will see you back here with everybody else for game day after dark.
And bring those school supplies, folks, to Friday. That'll be very helpful.
Thanks for joining us on Bonfire Midweek. We'll see you next time.
See ya.